Good morning.
It is.
I have a question about support. We've talked before about how when I see someone off the road and in the ditch, and part of me wants to get off my high-flying platform and join them, which I shouldn't.
Not necessary that you shouldn't. Sometimes law of attraction has brought you right to that spot in the same way that you have a question and we have an answer. Law of attraction works that way. Lots of universal forces. You know, it's really interesting, the remarks that we just made about how you are chosen and your very first question about how you are chosen.
That's true.
Someone needs something, and of all the people in the vicinity, there is someone who is not just a good vibrational mix for that, not just good at helping in that way, but open and receptive to the call. So we would never say you shouldn't be there. It's helpful if you're tuned in, tapped in, turned on when you are there. Yeah.
Because I've always been the type of person that wants everyone to be turned in, tapped in, turned on.
Yeah.
And I find that with my family. You know, I'm always there. I'm always helping. And then there's part of me that wonders...
Well, we want to nitpick just a little bit. Being there and being there are two different things. Next. Just because your body's there doesn't mean that you are a vibrational advantage to them.
Okay.
And unless you have been tending to your own vibration and know what alignment means and are under the influence of your own non-physical resources rather than just knee-jerk responding to things. In other words, the most well-meaning, sticking their nose in everybody's business, meddling personalities in the world who would say, I'm always there for everyone, we would say, and mostly you're no help at all. We're not talking about you, just a little bit. But if you have this awareness of what's going wrong in people's lives and you are really a vibrational match to that, then you're not under the influence of your inner being, and you're certainly not in their camp of what they want. You're in their camp of where they are. And when you shine your spotlight on that, and so your help is completely about whether you are tuned into the energy where you have something to give, or whether you are invested in their problem when you have nothing of value to contribute. Really important distinction.
Really, yeah. The interesting thing that I find is I live a pretty easy life. I'm always just kind of going with the flow.
And you see that as a good thing?
I definitely see that as a good thing.
You sounded a little apologetic.
Well, I know there are a lot of people that struggle.
Oh, so you are apologetic.
I'm sorry.
Don't be sorry, that's apologizing. But what we mean is we want to make that distinction, is that, you see, you can't get sick enough to help sick people get well. And you can't get poor enough to help poor people be prosperous. And you can't become confused enough to bring clarity to the world. It is through your thriving, which comes through your connection, that you have anything to give. And yet there are a lot of people who are so aware of how they're seen by others that they feel embarrassed when they thrive because they can't be the mechanism that causes others to thrive. Not necessarily right now, this red hot minute, but it is through your thriving that you give them the opportunity to know that thriving is possible. And it's through your thriving that you practice being connected to the source energy, the energy that creates worlds, which you can flow in the direction of anyone. When you are tuned in, tapped in, turned on, when you are under the influence of your inner being and you're visiting with anyone, you have the opportunity to uplift them if you maintain your connection. Jesus and many other healers did it by maintaining their vibrational alignment and not seeing the illness, knowing the wellness so powerfully that the illness just couldn't exist right there while all that knowing of wellness was going on. That's the power of upliftment. It's the power of influence. But you got to be under the influence. Esther has some dash cards that she occasionally brings along. Don't ask for them because they're hard to get. It's a card that goes on the dash. She didn't think it was good for a bumper sticker because you shouldn't drive around with something that says under the influence on your, where others can see it. But it lays on your dash and it reflects onto the window, and it's written backwards so you can't read it unless you're inside looking at the glass. Under the influence, under the influence. Under what influence? Under the influence of source energy, under the influence of knowing my value and everyone else's, seeing the world through the eyes of source, tuned in, tapped in, turned on, expecting well-being for others, not taking the temperature of where they are right now in this red hot minute, not looking at where they are, not letting what is right now be the point of evaluation, but knowing who they really are by knowing the vortex version of them.
This is exactly the kickstart I needed. I appreciate this. I'm done. Thank you.
We have one more very short thing to encourage you about.
Okay.
The people in your world who are not in this moment in time or in a moment in time, because this alignment is not like a college degree where once you get it, you've got it forevermore. There's not a plaque on your wall that says aligned. It either is or it isn't in the moment, and you can tell by the way you feel whether you're in alignment under the influence of your source or whether you're under the influence of something else. And so much of the world whom you interact with are not under the influence of source, and so they're instead in a place of need, place of needing clarity or needing something. And when they are in that needy place, they're looking at things differently than we are asking you to from your place of alignment. Because when they need something, they want it from you. And when they want it from you, they want it and they want it now, and they may resent you if you don't just get down there in their trench and wallow with them and give them whatever you've got. You have to maintain your knowledge that if you let them bring you there, you've got nothing to give. Here's an example. It's not a heart-wrenching example, so you'll hear it easily. So Jerry and Esther often, when they were traveling and dining together, moving from restaurant to restaurant across the country, often there would be a particularly aligned person interacting with them. And Jerry would say, Esther, this is our one, will you do it? So what they would say is, every month, it was really just about every day, every month we have a family tradition where we choose our very favorite waiter or waitress, and we give them something special, and you're it. And then they give them $100 in addition to what they'd written on the tab, just to thank them for their brightness in the world. And there was a particular place in their hometown where they went often, and the word kind of got out. And people started fighting over who would get to wait on them, and it became a little awkward. But another very common thing that happened is someone would come to their table and plead their needy case. My rent's due, and my roommate moved out. Enjoy your meal. I got 2 flat tires this week. I had to hitchhike to work. And Jerry would look at Esther, and Esther would look at Jerry, and one of them would say to the other, or sometimes it was unspoken, they don't get it. They don't get it. The universe responds to you the way you feel. And Jerry and Esther did not want to give distorted point of view. Now hear it. Anytime, knowing what you know, you go to the aid of someone who's not in the vibrational place of letting it in on a really regular basis, and you give them the impression that that's how the universe works, that you will give them what they need. Now, we're not saying don't be kind, and we certainly would not deprive anyone of anything. We know there are times when you just move in and you do whatever you can, and if you're tuned in, tapped in, turned on, you can do it all day, every day to whoever comes across your path. This isn't about the action. This is about what you're really giving them. Because you really do not want to be someone who says, I do this for you because I see you cannot do it for yourself. That is not the message that you want to give. The message that you want to give is, there are resources. Your opening words were, what was your opening word?
About support?
Support. There is universal, non-physical support beyond our ability to put it into words, and every single person has direct access to that, and no one needs someone to act as a passer honor of it. But it is helpful when you demonstrate that you've figured out how to tap in, and that really is the way that you can be of greatest value to the world. Or give somebody whatever it is they're begging for. Here's the $100, here's the $500, go get your tires. But this isn't how the universe works. You just caught us at a weak moment. Usually we never offer up the goods to someone who's whining and complaining, and neither does the universe at large. There.
Thank you.
Yeah. There you go. And we're off. Right here. Parents often teach their kids, if we wear mom and dad down enough, they'll give up the goods. And then they're shocked when they can't get everybody else in the universe to respond the same way. Mom and dad are suckers.